Hello there folks, my name is Spoonks and I saw Mickey 17 and it was great. I was pretty interested in this movie. I'm a massive fan of Bong Joon-ho's last film, Parasite, like everyone else who's seen it. I think it's a masterpiece and I was pretty interested to see what he would do next to follow that up, and this definitely looked interesting. It definitely wasn't Parasite, to say the least. I was definitely interested and curious. I wasn't fully on board because I wasn't sure if this tone or the humor would really gel with me that much given the trailers, but the movie still looked interesting. I liked the cast. I like obviously the filmmaker behind it, and I was still going to give it the benefit of a doubt, and the movie did not disappoint. I thoroughly enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. The best thing about this movie easily is Robert Pattinson. He is a true movie star legend. Just everything about his performance, the way he's able to take these two people who are pretty much the same person and make them stand out from one another, and that goofy little voice of his, I'm just amazed by that voice. I've been trying to replicate it, but I can't pull it off. I gotta meet him one day and ask how he did that, or at least meet his dialect coach. But Robert Pattinson is a star in this movie. This definitely is his movie. I think he really brought a lot to the character. Everything from the humor to the shame to the despair of it all. He really brought a lot to this character, and it adds to the likability of his character. You really like Mickey in this movie, and you feel bad for him in this situation because he's really just victim of circumstance who unfortunately got roped up into some shady stuff and now has to do this job where he literally has to die for a living, which is as funny as it is tragic. They do play up the humor and it does land with the comedy, but you also understand the tragedy and the despair of it all, and I think the movie was able to balance that all very, very well and really adds to the tone of the humor. It's definitely dark and at times depressing, but also very, very funny and very optimistic in some regards. One thing I said earlier was that I wasn't sure if the humor was going to land for me, but it really did. I don't know what it was about the trailers, but I laughed here and there, but I was still concerned, like, I don't know if this is going to sustain the whole movie, but it was able to. I laughed a lot throughout this, just the dry, dark, twisted humor of it all. And again, some of the performances, not just from Robert Pattinson, but also Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette as the villains, who are admittedly very over the top. I think those characters are going to make or break this movie for some people, but I thought their humor and jokes landed very well, and the situations the Mickeys get themselves into and how the situations escalate, I thought led to some very funny moments here and there. I also loved the world building in here, just exploring the spaceship and seeing how these people were able to create such this sort of society in hopes of finding another planet after, things don't turn out the best for them on Earth, and just exploring how things operate, how things function, the various uses of technology, how they communicate with various different species. It was all so fascinating, and I was just really interested in seeing more of how this world and these people operate in that regard. And I think a lot of the characters here are also really likable and entertaining. I would love to see a bit more of certain characters, but we'll get there later. But yeah, I liked a lot of the characters. They felt as weird and awkward as Mickey. Again, I was a fan of the villains. I know not a lot of people were fans of them, but I thought, Toni Collette, Mark Ruffalo, they did a good job, and the supporting cast, Naomi Ackie and Steven Yeun did great here as well, and I thought they matched the vibe and tone of the movie as well. And the special effects here too are really well done for a movie that's around $128 million. This didn't look too bad. I loved all the designs of the various creatures. They looked definitely freaky, but also kind of adorable in a sense, and it leads to some really unique creature designs and use of like gadgets and gizmos and whatnot. And again, it all looked very well done. It never felt like they were just staring at nothing like some other blockbuster movies that have even bigger budgets than this. The effects were really well done here. And the movie has a lot of messages and a lot of things to say about certain topics and issues. It is definitely very topical, which is crazy to think about because, believe it or not, this was actually supposed to come out last year, and how topical and current this movie feels coming out this year is kind of crazy. I honestly wasn't expecting this movie to be so current on certain issues, but it does juggle a lot more than I think it can handle, and I'll discuss that more thoroughly later. But for the ones it does successfully, I think it really does it. You know, stuff like exploitation and taking advantage of others, how the powerful will literally force you to die for a living. I thought the movie handled those aspects and certain themes very well. It's just some other issues, again, I'll discuss this momentarily, could have been a bit further done, or maybe not be incorporated to the movie as much. But the movie definitely has a lot to say, like I said, and I think for the most part it discusses these things very well. But unfortunately, I do have some issues with this movie that prevent it to reaching the masterpiece levels that Parasite reached. Like I said a couple moments ago, the movie has a lot to say, and I mean a lot, but that does mean some of those ideas and themes get, you know, the backhand sidelined a bit for the main plot and other big themes that the movie wants to talk about. And again, it's not like these are bad things for the movie to focus on. It just may be a bit too much for this movie to discuss. Maybe if this gets a sequel, it can discuss a bit more of these issues later, but I think there was maybe just a bit too much going on as regard to like what the movie wanted to say and how it wanted to discuss certain things. I also thought some of the supporting cast definitely should have been in the movie more. I talked briefly about Steven Yeun, and I liked his character in this movie, but given how much he's in the promotional material, I thought he would be in it in a bit more, and I liked his character in it a lot and his relationship with Mickey, and I was hoping he'd be in it in a bit more. There's also another girl in this movie who starts to feel like she's a bit more important and crucial to the story, but then after a certain point she just kind of goes away, which sucks because I like the character and what it was starting to lead to, unfortunately. And it's also one of those movies that feels like it's about to wrap up. We got maybe like 20 minutes left, but unfortunately it goes on for another 45 minutes. So the pacing definitely in the second half, leaning towards the end of the movie, staggers a bit. So I think if they could have just tightened it up a bit, the film would have ended things or wrapped things up a bit better to make things feel a bit more smoother. But despite those flaws, I still thoroughly enjoyed Mickey 17. This was a lot better than I thought it would, and I was actually pretty interested in seeing it regardless. Yeah, I really liked the humor, the characters, especially the world building, the special effects, and most of its messaging and themes. I think if you are on board with the trailer, you like the vibe it was giving you, you're on board with like the humor and tone of it, the trailer didn't turn you away or anything, and you like these type of weird sci-fi movies, I'd say go ahead and check it out. If you're as curious as I am, I'd still say go check it out. You might be in it for a surprise, but if you weren't down with like the trailer, it didn't really interest you as much, I'd say stay away. It's definitely more of what the trailer shows you. There's a lot more that's shown in the movie that isn't in the trailers, but if you're not a fan of like the humor and the tone, you may not be as with this movie as I think others would. But still, I would recommend it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is definitely a huge delight in my opinion. So those were my thoughts on Mickey 17. What did you all think of it? If you've seen it, did you like it? Did you hate it? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button. Follow me on all the social media links at the end of the video. And until next time, everyone, stay sharp.
I think I'm a clone now. There's always two of me just hanging around. I think I'm a clone now, 'cause every chromosome is a hand-me-down. Look at the way we go out walking close together.